Welcome to another episode of the CPG Guys podcast. Our co-hosts, Sri Rajagopalan and Peter V.S. Bond, explore how brands and retailers engage with consumers online, in-store, and everywhere in between. And now, here are Sri and Peter. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the CPG Guys podcast. I'm PVSB, one of the aforementioned CPG guys. I'm also the Vice President of Partner Strategy and Development at Fetch Rewards, a mobile loyalty platform. And as always, I'm joined by my partner in this endeavor to explore strange new worlds. Oh, wait, that's Star Trek. Never mind. I know I tried to sneak that in. To explore consumer engagement in a digitally driven world. He's an impresario in the world of omni-channel digital shopper marketing. He's also so famous that, like Sting and Cher, people know him by one name. Please join me in welcoming the man known as Sri. Sri, we're live together in LA.
This is why he's my best friend.
We're in LA. Look at that.
How about that? You can actually make hand
I can
gestures.
make, yeah, I know. I can do the
You can do hand gestures. And at the time of this recording, Peter,
yeah,
we're 5 days away from a big event. It happens to be home turf for me.
Oh, it's soccer champion. No. It's the Stanley Cup.
It's the Candy Awards.
Oh, the Candy Awards.
Downtown.
Okay. I think it might be the Super Bowl.
Don't read enough, man. You got to.
Could be football. Could be football. We wouldn't know anything about the Super
You
Bowl.
guys know what that is? Like, maybe we'll ask our guests later.
We're sad Giants fans. We don't belong anywhere near the Super Bowl.
I will be a pretend LA fan. I'll publicly declare it because I live here. My daughters just said I got to wear the cap. So I will, but I'll still wear my Giants track pants.
Okay, that sounds good.
They'll welcome me in the stadium. You think
so? Good to be here with you, brother. We don't do this enough,
in
right?
person.
All right,
in person.
All right. Before we get to our guests, I want to remind our audience that all of our content, over 175 episodes, we got to start planning for 200. That's going to be a big one. You can find it by just visiting CPGGUYS.com. And if you're not already following us on LinkedIn, that is a tremendous community. We've got over 10,000 followers now. Best way to get engaged there is open up your browser and go to LinkedIn, or open up your LinkedIn mobile app and in the search bar, enter in CPG Guys. And when you get to our page, just click the blue follow button and you get to see.
That easy.
Huh? And you know what we charge, Sri? We don't charge anything.
Close your eyes, tell me what you see.
It's a zero. I see nothing. That's what we charge. Yeah. So it's all free. It's great. And we love doing it. And in addition to that, hey, did you know we partner with New Network of Executive Women?
Of course.
Yeah.
Great friend, Sarah.
We love Sarah. We've got Sarah Alter, the president of New, coming up on an episode. And what's great about New is they're a 501c3 nonprofit committed to gender equality in the workplace and advancing the career opportunities of women and men. So we're very proud of that partnership, and we've got some big announcements coming up with New shortly.
Feb 16th.
Yeah, Feb 16th. And hey, did you know we launched a second podcast over in Europe?
Really?
Yeah, but it's not the CPG Guys.
How did I miss it?
I don't know where you were, but the FMCG Guys, fast-moving consumer goods. Yeah, we've got our friends Ephraim and Daniel. They're over in...
Because here in the U.S., we're slow-moving.
I know, we're slow-moving consumer goods. We are. Anyhow, if you want to learn, they've got great guests with a European flair to it from the other side of the Atlantic. So if you want to learn more about the FMCG Guys, just go to CPGGuys.com. The link at the top of the page. It'll lead you to their podcast. And it's a great thing to take a listen to. Hey, Sri, we're often speaking with brand marketers, and we hear a lot of common themes around how they are investing their advertising dollars. Is my advertising working? Am I reaching the right audience? How many times have you heard that?
Whose favorite topic is this?
Might be yours, and increasingly mine. You're like weaning me off of loyalty and into advertising. But are my efforts driving incremental sales? Remember when I didn't even know what ROAS meant? Boy, I've come a long way. Which of my efforts are driving the most sales among a particular buyer group? So to help us address those questions, we've partnered in this episode with NC Solutions, whose mission is to help marketers and media companies measure and improve advertising performance by accurately linking what consumers watch, see, or hear with what they buy. Wow, that sounds like what you should be doing. Whether it's television, print, radio, or web, they provide the gold standard in marketing performance analytics. They do so through the creation of machine learning propensity models for all U.S. households. All of them, not some of them, not most of them, all of them. That sounds pretty powerful. I can't wait to hear it. So joining us to speak about data enablement and how brands need to use data more dynamically to win in the marketplace are Patrick Roman Gut, the notorious PRG. I love that. I've been wanting to say that all week. Did you know that?
I got to sing a song.
Yeah. Patrick Roman Gut. We're going to call him PRG from here on. He's the Senior Vice President.
Notorious PRG.
Don't start singing.
You're in LA, bro.
I know. We do have to start rapping. He's the Senior Vice President and Head of Advertisers and Agency Sales at NC Solutions. And joining him is Rosemary Hua, Global Head of Retail and CPG Go-to-Market at Snowflake, a global data cloud that delivers users a single, seamless experience. NC Solutions is an official insights provider partner of Snowflake. And I'm very familiar with Snowflake, used them in a number of different faculties in my career. So really excited to talk to Rosemary and really excited to learn more from PRG. Hey, PRG, Rosemary, welcome to the CPG Guys podcast. How you doing?
Hey, doing well. Happy to be here.
Doing really well. Thank you so much.
That's great. Hey, before we get to the questions, PRG, would you please first tell us about where online our audience can learn more about NC Solutions? We're going to put it in the digital liner notes of the podcast, but some people may just want to start typing right now. They can't wait for it. And would you also give our audience a brief overview of your core value proposition to brands, retailers, and consumers?
Yeah, sure. So you can find us at ncsolutions.com. Similar to me, the company goes by an acronym of NCS, so PRG at NCS. So you'll hear me refer to us as NCS throughout, but we started as a research company 11 years ago, right? Fundamentally founded in data science. And then from there, we're no longer a research company. We kind of migrated that data science to move into different facets of campaign optimization and activation, et cetera, all with the fundamental principle of helping maximize advertising effectiveness. Where we're at now, as you think about NCS, is our core value prop is our intellectual property and machine learning. And we use that to be able to stitch together purchase data and exposure data to create outcomes. And that's what our company is doing now as we're launching in this new enablement world of giving advertisers a more dynamic look at purchase insights to enable them to drive outcomes.
Welcome, Rosemary, my fellow Californian.
Yes, go California, go Bears.
California Bears. Of course, last weekend, if you were following the games, was, of course, 49ers and Rams.
Yeah, I know.
So I don't know many things about
that. It was a sad loss for us.
But Rosemary, can you tell our audience where they can learn more about Snowflake and how Snowflake is providing value to the CPG and retail industry?
Yeah, of course. So Snowflake has made a big pivot in the industry. Originally, we were kind of really focused on the technical data platform side of things, but recently we've had an increased focus on industry, and namely retail and consumer products. And so where you can learn more is at snowflake.com. What we do is basically we provide a data platform for retailers, e-commerce companies, and brands to have all their data in one place, but not only that, to share data between companies. So that is the big differentiator of Snowflake. And yes, you can find out more at snowflake.com.
Thank you for that. So what we're going to do is into our audience, in the digital liner notes of this podcast episode, you will find links to both PRG and Rosemary's LinkedIn profiles. You'll find links to the NCS and Snowflake websites and to the NCS and Snowflake LinkedIn pages. We're going to have a lot of links in there, all sorts of connections. So that'll be terrific. Well, why don't we get to the questions? I'm going to start with the first one, and Shri will follow and so on. But let me give this one to PRG. If advertising is not effective, it won't move the needle in terms of sales. From NCS's perspective, what are the keys to advertising effectiveness, and how does NCS go about measuring that effectiveness?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it goes back to really fundamentals. Like in this fragmented digital world that we're in right now, everything that held true years ago, back in the Mad Men age, right, going back to old school advertising to now still holds true. And I think I look at it in three main principles that drive effectiveness, or as a result will drive ineffectiveness. And that's audience, creative, and agility, right? So parallel structure probably wasn't great on that, but you get the idea of the three. Audience, are you targeting the right people, right? So we've done multiple research to make sure that you're getting the right ad in front of the right person. You got to have the audience right. And then the second part of that is, are you giving them a creative that elicits a response? You could talk to the right people, but if you don't talk to them the right way, there's no action taken. And the last part of that is to be agile, right? So you need to be able to optimize and shift and learn while the campaign's in flight. When we started 11 years ago, we were doing post-campaign measurement lift, which was enough then. Right now, post-campaign measurement lift is super important for comparability, but it's a bow on the campaign. You need to be, the campaigns are living and breathing in flight. And if you can't be as agile with the data or the partners you have, there's a risk of ineffective performance. And I think, what's really interesting is we've gone to this fragmented world where audience comes first and has come so far along the way. I believe creative is kind of lagging. And I've talked to a lot of marketers where they feel the same thing, whether it's not as fun to create iterations of creative for all the segmented audiences or production costs. But I think that we're getting to a point where audience is driving a lot of the strategy as it should. Creative needs to kind of get bumped up to that point to help maximize the effectiveness of it.
Hey, one of the things as I was listening to you, I was thinking about is incrementality. Right at the beginning of the show, we used that word. Incrementality can be a dangerous buzzword, or it can deliver the goods. I've always believed in every media agency I talk to, retail, especially the upcoming new retail media agencies, I always ask them for every extra penny that I would invest, can they drive an incremental dollar versus just moving over a click and brick to online or vice versa? Because it's truly omni-channel. Love to hear either of your thoughts on incrementality in the ad world versus just delivering a ROAS.
Yeah, maybe I'll start and then Rose, I'll kick it to you. But ROAS, it's so interesting because depending if you talk to media buyers or analytics folks or brand managers, they all have different definition of what performance is. But incrementality, essentially, Shri answers your questions. Like, if I give you $1, what am I getting back on top of that, right? And so that's the ultimate end-all, be-all evaluation. ROAS is okay, but let's put the incrementality lens on that too, right? What is my incremental ROAS that I'm getting back from the campaign? So anything that NCS looks at, and as we think through the way that we've evolved our business over time with the data science mindset, and now moving into machine learning that we're productionalizing and putting in market, it's all based around incrementality, right? And enabling brands to answer the question of, if I have $1, what am I going to get back on top of it?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the concept of incrementality and ensuring that when you're putting your dollars and cents behind certain campaigns or certain keywords, that you're not cannibalizing. So it's not always just this kind of simple game of profit and loss, and even just looking at ROAS, right? You do need to make sure that you're not having a cannibalized spend, but rather with every dollar that you're getting an incremental value add. Yeah, I totally agree with that one.
Right. It goes to, and I remember when I first started NCS, like one of our first go-to in meetings was, it doesn't matter how much someone bought, right? It matters how much more they bought because of what they've seen, right? So the causality piece of it. So I couldn't agree more.
I love that you chose to also speak about cannibalization, which we'll get to later on the show. But what I want to jump back to PRG is multi-touch attribution. Essentially, that's again another nice word for what I'm really asking in these days of omni-channel retail is, all media is going digital. That's what the retail media agencies are doing. So it's being placed on retail.com. How do we get to true attribution that shows the halo impact for every event in the store? Because most CPG businesses, brand businesses, depending on the category, maybe it's 40% e-commerce, but for the most part, it's 10 to 15. So there's an 85% business which is in-store and still growing, by the way. So how do you do this? How do you take brick and click, purchase data, a key element of accurate and meaningful measurement of advertising effectiveness, and get to this?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think there's no clean answer, to be crystal clear, right? Our friends at Walmart and friends at Amazon, they have their proprietary IP and their data. So for an advertiser to think that they're ever going to get full representativity of observed purchasing is just not reality. And so when NCS looks at data, right, it's three components to NCS. There's the intellectual property, there's purchase data, and exposure data, right? When we go to that purchase data sphere of it, there's three attributes we look at for data. And that's number one is representativity, right? So what channels do you have representation for in your data set right? Because as an advertiser, you can't go brand by brand. You need to get a partner that can aggregate that. So the partner you go to is how representative is your data, right? Is it covering convenience, drug, grocery, mass, club, to what extent? Then the second part is, okay, it's got the coverage, but is it sufficient? So we go from representativity to sufficiency. We don't mean like tens or thousands of households, but tens of millions of households. So the data is sufficient enough for any sort of learnings. And the last part is application. So I have representativity, I have sufficiency. Now let me talk about the application, whether it's multi-touch attribution or an audience you're building, is there enough data, sufficient data for my models to be able to leverage and create some sort of outcome from, and try and actually answer the question of who and what channel is most responsible for driving that. And from an NCS perspective, right, and Rosemary, I'll kick it to you to kind of give your take on it, because I know you're working with clients on building their own, is there needs to be some sort of way to be able to mine the gap of the gaps. And that's where the modeling comes into place. So once you have representativity and sufficiency, the question then is, okay, how do you mine the gaps to get an actual result?
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think where I want to also go and explore in this conversation is around retail media. I think to the question, Shree's question around like attribution, almost every retailer is coming up with their own their own media platform. And obviously, at Snowflake, we talk to everybody about their different use cases, and retail media is kind of at the forefront of all of those kind of big use cases for data platforms and what they're offering to CPGs. Now, the obvious kind of big elephant in the room is, as a CPG, now you're going to have to deal with 20 different retail media platforms, and you're going to have to figure out attribution across 20 different, like if you're just talking grocery, there's, not only Kroger 8451, there's now Walmart Connect, there's almost every single, retailer is now launching their own method of monetizing and advertising with CPGs. Not to mention delivery service providers like Instacart and DoorDashes of the world that are also doing a lot of that monetization. So as a CPG, this becomes a big pain point of, I do want a fast track to attribution. Obviously, you get the end-to-end conversion funnel when you're talking about a retail app. But at the same time, how do you manage your budget? How do you actually harmonize across all these different retail data sources? How do you make sure you're not duplicating the budget that you're spending, at every step of the way? So anyway, I just want to say that, yes, totally agree on everything from the NCS perspective. And then what to add from Snowflake is we also hear a lot of kind of grief from CPGs around retail media and having to manage all those different channels as well.
Well, they're not shy to address the core issue here, are they, Shree? This is awesome. You smiled. Shree is so happy. You are talking his language.
Well, Shree, what's your take on it, right? So you're living and breathing the overall fragmentation of, is this a brand? Is this a lower funnel tactic? Like, how are you bridging or looking at that?
I thought the way the show works is we ask the question about that.
Well, you're on the hot seat.
The answer is very straightforward, guys. And it is, I'm yet to find a partner, I would say, as I speak to the entire industry, who truly is ready to take on multi-touch attribution in a way, maybe audience or opinion of one here, but in a way that impresses me. And I understand why it's hard to do. I will never debate that it's hard to do, but true courage and guts, it's the word attribution is used in MTA for a reason, because it's an attribution. Yeah. It's not an exact science. And people have to be gutsy enough to live into attribution. Yeah. And I don't find enough doing that.
All right. Well, let's back it up a little bit. I'm going to take it back above the clouds, 30,000 feet. We'll go back down. We'll swoop down and do a couple more.
We're going to get into the world of CPC.
I know we are. Rosemary, I'm very intrigued by your background. I'm going to back it up and go from a high level here. You graduated from Berkeley. Go Pac-12. That unlike the Big Ten, which is really not 10 teams, they actually can count. They have math departments at Berkeley. So
I've heard.
That's a big deal. But you've been at Amazon. You did a little work at Walmart around global tech. And you've ultimately made your way to Snowflake. Can you walk us through kind of your progression and what have been some of the great experiences that you think have led you to what you're doing now at Snowflake?
Yeah, I mean, starting even further back than that, I think my kind of career in retail CPG started with my involvement at InfoScout. I helped them when they were a very, very small company, and made good friends with Jared Schreiber, one of the founders there. And yeah, I mean, all the way back then in, I think, 2012, 2013, in those days, we were trying to figure out how to digitize box tops, essentially, and to understand retail analytics across the board. Wow, the feedback went away. That's great. And so, yeah, I mean, all the way back then, we were trying to see, okay, how can we take something that is a more archaic method of collecting loyalty information and shopper insight data, and digitize that by taking photos of receipts and converting that into qualitative measures that we can then do quantitative analytics on. And that obviously led to building one of the largest omnichannel panels kind of in the world, and super proud of that work early on. Then I went over to Amazon. I was in the transactions organization doing business analytics alongside our machine learning team, essentially analyzing more than 150,000 different attributes about the customer. We would assign something called a fingerprint. Based on that fingerprint and different purchase behaviors, like how often you change your email, how often you change your password, whether your billing address matches your IP address, which matches the shipping address, and all these different indicators and also global patterns, we would actually go and find where your order should go. Based on that, we were able to get the machine learning algorithm to be quite good, about 99.6% accurate. And that's how next day shipping and same day shipping was really enabled, is by this concept of being able to do those things in real time and very quickly. From there, I went over to Walmart. I was originally hired to build their fulfillment centers and kind of oversee that entire process. I made my rounds across, and I saw the entire exodus of Walmart leadership when Jet.com, Bonobos, Hey Needle, and all of those, we went on a shopping spree, essentially. And from there, I kind of got moved into the global data organization, and that's where I found Snowflake. After 5 years at Walmart, here I am at Snowflake leading the retail and CPG organization. Couldn't be happier than here.
That's fantastic, Peter. And I feel we got a little bit of a peek underneath the tent on how one-day shipping was created or invented and actually played out in reality. But your background is definitely fascinating, especially as you refer to how Walmart went shopping for all those companies you referred to. You're part of that. But I want to jump into the partnership that the two companies have here, NCS and Snowflake. So obviously, you'll have partnered together to deliver a powerful data partnership that brands are leveraging. And what was it for you, Rosemary, about the size and the source of NCS's data set that led you to say, hey, we should do this in the first place? And then what are some of the key benefits that even your clients, Rosemary, are benefiting from leveraging this partnership?
Yeah, so we partner in multiple different ways. Snowflake right now, as I said, has this big focus on retail and consumer products. We're launching what we're calling the Retail Data Cloud in March. And what that is bringing together all of the partners, tech partners, consulting partners, all together for our customers, for them to leverage not only the data, not only the insights, but also the partners to help implement. Now, as part of that, NCS has been a big launch partner of ours to deliver, one of the most comprehensive and representative data sets within retail and CPG for our customers. Not only that, NCS is also on our marketplace. So Snowflake has a data marketplace. It's kind of like an app store for data. You can go in and search things like, macroeconomic data sets or weather data or whatever you'd like. And NCS is one of those providers on our marketplace. And we find that kind of strengthens the partnership between Snowflake and NCS, because you're not only able to, find NCS in the market, but also you can get that data through the Snowflake platform. And we really think that's the big differentiator of us, is because of that data sharing functionality. So that's kind of a quick overview. Obviously, there's other value propositions of Snowflake, including our clean room, for example, is a big piece of our functionality. But PRG, anything to add there on our partnership?
No, I think you hit it. Like, from where NCS is going, I mentioned 11 years ago, we were a research first company, right? Rooted in data science. So we're trying to progress into, essentially our mission now is to enable brands to use purchase insights more dynamically and in a privacy compliant way. So the data sharing perspective that we're looking for, Snowflake lends itself to perfectly, which is why I'm super excited about the partnership. And I think, hands-on access is something a lot of our clients are asking for. And a lot of times they're lost in terms of, okay, I have it, what do I do? With just the overall approach that Snowflake is taking in market and the data cloud itself and the application clouds, I think just set advertisers up for success. So I'm looking forward to see what we could bring to life on that.
A reminder, audience, that we're speaking with Rosemary Huoff from Snowflake and PRG from NCS. I need more acronyms. This is good. I'm gonna ask you before we move on to that. Can you share with us, and maybe it's both of you, but I'll start with Rosemary and you can decide to pass it on how you want. But do you have an example of how a brand using your data cloud platform has leveraged your partnership with NCS to deliver meaningful results for their organization?
Yeah, so for sure, data sharing is a very common use case with joint customers of ours and NCS. So not only being able to get your insights much faster, but I'll kind of paint a picture. As CPG, we cover 80% of the Fortune 500 CPGs. So a CPG could basically receive their insights and their data directly in their Snowflake data platform, which they're already using today for their analytics. The big kind of differentiator of Snowflake versus other platforms is that we're cloud agnostic. So we sit on Google, Amazon, and Microsoft. And so that means that when you're sharing data, it doesn't matter where the tech stack is. It's all the same experience. That's the big differentiator. And so, of course, as joint customers of NCS and Snowflake, you're able to share data back and forth with NCS. You don't have to worry about which platform they're on. It's all the same experience, like I said. And with that being said, tying it to clean rooms as well, there are many examples of brands, getting into a clean room with some of the largest advertisers and streaming platforms out there. I think that's probably for a further question. But yes, our clean rooms are quite powerful, and they sit on top of Snowflake as well.
Hey, so we're an educational podcast. Maybe PRG, you can jump in and do this. What's a clean room? I
could take a stab at explaining it. Yeah, I'll take the first stab. So essentially, the first, I'll start with the goal behind a clean room. Personally identifiable data, PII data, is extremely confidential. It's extremely sensitive. And it's something that there's more and more regulations coming about to basically prevent the exposure of PII data. And that's great for us as consumers, but as a retailer or as a consumer products company, now you need special handling of that data. So a clean room allows two parties to join data sets together without exposing the underlying PII data. So for example, if Disney or Roku or NBC Universal or Netflix, all Snowflake customers, were to get into a data clean room with other CPGs like Kraft Heinz, also a Snowflake customer, what they can do is they can overlap and join on customer email address or whatever token it is, hashed ID, hashed email, and they can get results on that data set without ever sharing the email address back and forth. So if Disney knows that Shri watches Frozen, the Disney movie, all day, every day, and our CPG like Kraft Heinz knows that Shri loves to buy mac and cheese every third Friday. What they can do is now join on Shri's hashed email, Shri CPG Guy, or whatever it is, and figure out, hey, this group of people who are watching Frozen are also buying mac and cheese every third Friday. And now they can figure out how many of the people who are watching Frozen also buy XYZ other product that they're curious about, without ever sharing Shri's email. So that is super powerful because as a customer, it makes you feel safe because you're not exposing or nobody's sharing out your email address, but you are still being able to do analytics on their behaviors and figure out, where should you optimize your advertising spend and on which platforms. So that is I'll stop now, but that is my quick overview of what a clean room is. PRG, anything to add?
Look, I think you're spot on. What I will say is I think from our vantage point, right, we're essentially a third-party data provider. So privacy is utmost importance to us to ensure our retailers, our consumers are protected. So an environment like a clean room in Snowflake where you can share that data to a publisher like a Roku or a Kraft Heinz, right? And have confidence that we're not violating any privacy clause is huge. The one thing I'll push on a little bit is I think clean rooms allow brands to create their own competitive advantages, right? They can put their own models, build your own application on top of that, and you can create something that is unique to you. And so from that vantage point, and especially with CPG, I think it's so important because Kraft has a great first-party system, right? Or first-party data asset. Most CPG providers don't. So they need more data coming in a privacy-compliant manner to be able to create those competitive insights and competitive differentiators and drive in market. And we're seeing with privacy a huge uptake in how much folks want to get hands-on access of that data.
Okay, I'm still a little worried that Netflix is going to reveal the fact that I downloaded and watched all 10 episodes of season 2 of Sweet Magnolias on the flight to LA. Oh, wait, I just told everybody.
It was Cobra Kai.
No,
that might be on you.
I already been Cobra Kai. This is different. Okay, go.
So I'm going to jump, we've already hit a ton of acronyms. We've hit some sweet spaces, like we started first on with cannibalization. And I thought a clean room was one where you can find like a vacuum and a broom and bleach and supplies of that nature. But boy, I'm learning too much today. But when I think about clean rooms and when I think about data and scaling and all these different things we touched, for most CPG brands, data has always been an intimidating space to collect, harmonize, gather, whatever those words are, right? And then the most important part of data is not the data. A lot of people, IT organizations take pride, flex their biceps, like collect data. I know how to do data integration. It's only as good as the meaningful insights, actionable insights you can pull from it. So my question to you, both of you, is how do you both come together to enable CPG to be put in the position to use scale data for everyday decision making? And is AI somewhere here in the mix?
That's a great question. And I think it's kind of top of mind for everyone. With the new advent of the cloud, I'm hearing more and more from execs, like, it's not about getting, the data in one place anymore. It's like, okay, we have everything here. How much of it is actually usable or valuable? And it seems like we have almost too much data. Like which data is actually important to get? So yeah, totally a great question. Number one, I think getting all your data into one place is a very difficult task for many, especially legacy retailers or legacy CPGs. And then secondly, when you do the migration to the cloud, or if you have a hybrid cloud strategy, I think it's tough to see when that roadmap, can actually finish and when you can actually deprecate legacy systems. So that's number one, getting your data into one place. I think, secondly, once you do have it in one place, what data model is there for you to harmonize data sets? And on this topic, I often get into rabbit holes of the politics of data. And believe it or not, there are politics to data. For example, item identifiers, Amazon fighting for the ASIN, the Amazon SKU identification number, and then Walmart fighting for the Walmart ID, the WIN. It's like two titans battling it out. And then you've got, CPGs like SKU or VSN, vendor SKU number, or UPC or GTIN or GTIN 14 or GTIN 12. There's like probably 15 different item identifiers. And to Shree's point, like, how do you harmonize that data? I mean, you probably work with 30, 50, 100 different retailers that all use different stock keeping numbers. How do you figure out what your sales are for one particular item when it's categorized differently from one retail to the next? I mean, I think that the second big topic or question is really data modeling and making sure you have a good data model. And the shameless plug I'll put in here is we just invested at Snowflake in a data modeling company, Roebling, that is now our exclusive kind of data modeling company. And obviously our customers now have access to that. So that's a big thing. And then lastly, it's not only your first party data, but also your second and third party. So how can you get all of your data and insights that are valuable, first of all, screened, and third, quickly into your ecosystem? I would say those are the three kind of big topic areas and three things that you would have to do tactically. Get your data into one place, get a data model that is easily harmonized. And to your question, and AI also plays a part in that. And then lastly, making sure that you have second and third party data at your fingertips as well. PRG?
Yeah, I think so aligned to everything you said. My perspective is going to be more from the media side of it. So we've been partnering with clients for clean rooms probably over the past year, right, as they've been jumping in. And so, talking about the scale of the data is really important, right? So obviously the data needs to be cleansed. You need an ID spine that's scalable that you can model out to. But there's three, essentially you need an ID spine, you need the right data, and you need the right models. If you have those three things from a media standpoint, you have the ingredients. Now the question is, how do you assemble them? And one of the things transparently that we've seen folks struggle about, actually going back through to your first point of incrementality, is if you want to know true incrementality, you need to have representation of everything in market. And when you don't have representation of everything in market, a lot of our advertisers that have little gaps of it or little different data pockets, they're struggling to quantify the impact that a audience or a measurement might have. And so that's what maybe a shameless plug on our end, but what we're shifting towards is we're developing a all-outward adjusted household level data feed. So granularity and representativity fueled by AI, our machine learning. So our advertisers don't have to try and scale up themselves. We do the scaling for them to allow them to actually make that data actionable and prove the results. And I think that's one of the main things is hey, if you have the ID spine, have the data, have the models, now you can actually do something with it. Let's turn folks loose on doing something with it. Sorry, I was a little passionate on my end, but we've been in this boat for a bit. So,
PRG, my last question is going to go to you. I'd love your perspective on why audience targeting powered by third-party purchase data sets is frankly non-negotiable. It's not just necessary, it's non-negotiable. And how does NCS help brands of all sizes compete using this as a mechanism?
I don't remember the movie, but when you think about third-party data and it being required, I envision a scene. I think it was like a mob movie based in New York, but you would have glass repairmen that would send folks out at night and throw rocks through windows to break the glass to create the demand. I almost fear like for the past 2 years with GDPR and everything, the contextual parties were doing that. Fear mongering. Data's going away. You can't target folks. You have to use contextual. Sorry, guys, not so much the case. So what we find is that third-party data might not be accessed the same way it's been for the past 3, 5, 7, 10 years of hey, here's a segment, go activate. Here's a measurement, I'll tell you how you did. But let's integrate it into a clean room. Let's integrate in a privacy compliant method. Let's scale it up to be able to drive results. And I think when you think about third-party data, our clients see this as it's using it in a more dynamic way. And third-party data, I can tell you I'm LeBron James, but I'm not. However, if you actually observe and see me playing basketball, you can deduce yourself I'm not LeBron James, right? So the third-party data actually tells you a true non-biased objective, and the best indicator of future behavior is past behavior. Granted, I'm probably skewed because I work at NCS and where data is one of the foundational pillars of ours, but we think that in order to be able to have a successful campaign, you need third-party data. I mean, I'm going to go down a rabbit hole and I'll pause for a second, but you look at COVID, right? The disruption across loyalty, right? Brands didn't have supply on the shelves. So they needed to identify who they lost, who they gained, and then have different messaging tied to them to continue their advertising. And that's, going back to small brands that you mentioned or mid-sized brands is they had a great opportunity. A bunch of new brands or consumers that have never bought them did because other folks were out of stock. And so now you have to continue engaging with those folks. So again, passion point maybe, but I'm very passionate about the third-party data and the fact that we don't need to fear-monger that the contextual data is going to surpass all of it, because I don't think it will. Rosemary, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge part of our strategy, right? It's hey, we got to get this data in the hands of the customers in their platforms. The way that it works at Snowflake or as a customer is on the left-hand panel are all the kind of internal data sets that you pull from. So those would be supply chain, merchandising, finance, marketing, any kind of different business line that you could think of. You could pull your data tables on the left. In that same section, you can actually bring in data from the marketplace. For example, you could bring in a free COVID COVID data set for free. Within about 7 clicks or so, you can start to query and join that COVID data set by zip code. So you can start to see, okay, based on the vaccination rates here or based on the mortality rates in this particular region, how did that affect my sales? Another data set you could bring in is like foot traffic. You could bring in Starbucks foot traffic for free. And you can say, okay, based on the foot traffic, the shelter in place happening in this part of Alabama, how is that affecting my in-store sales versus online versus pickup? So there's a lot of different things that you could do. That is one of our biggest kind of strategies, is like get the third-party data many times for free into their accounts so that they can start to query it directly from the same exact place that they query their internal data.
I want to remind our audience that all of our content, 175 plus episodes, links to the FMCG guys, a list of podcasts that we listen to when we're not listening to ourselves talk. It's all available. Just go to CPGGUYS.com. It's all free. And please do. And we'd also like you to join our growing community, 10,000 plus strong on LinkedIn. Just go to LinkedIn, enter in CPG Guys, and click the blue follow button. You'll be privy to all the great content we publish there. It's not just amplifying this podcast, but it's research, thought leadership, and other things. So we have a great time doing that. We love celebrating people who succeed in the industry there as well. So please do join us on LinkedIn. PRG, Rosemary, this was a wide-ranging conversation from clean rooms, COVID testing in Alabama, Berkeley football, and somewhere in there, advertising effectiveness. This is great. Thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you so much. It was an honor. Thank you.
Yeah, it was a fun dialogue. Thank you so much.
Sri, what'd you think? What are your summary thoughts?
Look, when we started with the word incrementality and the elimination of cannibalization, from there this is going to be.
And they took it head on. There was no sidestepping there.
Absolutely.
This was straight on. I love that. Thank you for that.
And I like our discussion on scale, achieving scale with data, and why it shouldn't intimidate anybody. I guess capabilities like what you folks have, if people were to listen carefully, are reasons why we shouldn't get intimidated with large volumes of data sets and actually harmonizing them for actionable insights. So, Snowflake and NCS, y'all are in this space, so I really appreciate that as well. And then my most important learning of the day, what is a clean room?
Clean room, yeah.
I'm going to ask you later.
Is there going to be a quiz? Am I going to be tested? Okay.
Yeah.
Sri, thank you as always for joining me on this journey.
Pleasure.
And to our audience, we're so grateful to have you with us a couple times a week. We try to bring really interesting content. If you think you've got something that you can contribute to the conversation, send us an email at contact@cpgguys.com and let us know. Maybe we can get you on the podcast as well. So with that, well, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to speaking with you on the next episode of the CPG Guys podcast. Goodbye. The content in this podcast episode is provided for general informational purposes only. By listening to our episode, you understand that no information contained in this episode should be construed as advice from CPG Guys LLC or the individual author, hosts, or guests, nor is it intended to be a substitute for research on any subject matter. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by CPG Guys LLC. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. The views expressed by CPG Guys LLC do not represent the views of their employers or the entity they represent. CPG Guys LLC expressly disclaims any and all liability or responsibility for any direct, indirect, incidental, special, consequential, or other damages arising out of any individual's use of, reference to, or inability to use this podcast or the information we present in this podcast.